On this episode of the Whiskey Tornado, we review Barrell Bourbon Batch 31. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey Tornado. I'm your host, Lance. Today, we are reviewing Barrell Bourbon Company's Batch 31. Barrell Bourbon is always a controversial company. Every time I review this, someone in the comments tells me how overpriced it is and that it's not worth it. And please keep doing that. Keep telling me that these barrel batches are not worth the money and keep leaving them on the shelves, because I'm telling you guys, they are really honing their skills. They are blending better and better. It seems like every batch just gets better and better. I was crazy about batch 27 last year. So I'm really excited I got my hands on batch 31. Barrell Company did not send me this. I went and bought this myself because I'm a fan of Barrell Bourbon Company and I love what they're doing. And every time one of you leaves me a comment that it's overpriced and it's not worth it, I just smile because it just means more on the shelf for me. So what we're going to do today is give batch 31 the Whiskey Tornado score, and then I am going to taste it side by side with batch 27 from last year, which I loved. Now, I will give you guys, sometimes some of the batches have too much Tennessee whiskey, too much George Dickel blended in, and as you guys know, I'm not a crazy fan of George Dickel. However, I believe they have really been getting the best out of George Dickel. They've been getting a lot of those fruit notes without the minerality or the Flintstone vitamin notes, and these batches have just been getting better and better. So before we get into that, I'll quickly explain our scoring system. For those new to the channel, we have 7 categories. We rank 0 to 1, 0.5 being an average score for each category. The first 2 categories are handicaps, since they're not as important. Those are appearance and availability. Then we move on to the important stuff: the nose, the palate, the finish, the body, and the value. At the end, we add all those scores up. Any score of 3 or better is bar worthy, meaning safe to buy it. You're going to love it on your bar. Any score of 4 or better is bunker worthy, meaning buy some extra just in case the bourbon you love is no longer made. All right, with all that being said, let's get into our first handicapped category. Let's talk about the appearance of batch 31. So to me, guys, the Barrell bottles just really don't do that much for me, and the colors on their normal batches really don't do anything for me. Very plain, nothing that exciting. We're going to give it just an average score of a 0.5. All right, moving on to availability. Normally, Barrell Bourbon Company, I can find all the time because, like I said earlier, you guys pass these up and nobody buys them. The part of the reason is because it's $80 and there is a lot of risk involved buying these. So I totally get that. But I will say, as far as availability goes for batch 31, this particular batch says there's only 3,737 bottles. The previous batch that I really loved, batch 27, there were almost 16,000 bottles. So normally I would give availability, a 0.8 for Barrell Bourbon Company. I'm going to give it a 0.5. I was able to get batch 31 pretty easily. It was just sitting on the shelf, but I don't know how hard it's going to be in the future. So we're going to give the availability an average score of 0.5 right now. All right, guys, let's get into the good stuff. Let's nose this. Oh, man, this is going to be a good batch, guys. Now, I will say this is pretty much a fresh crack. Normally, I like to open these, really sit down and explore it. But I have not done that with this one. But right off the rip, man, this smells fantastic. So it smells really balanced. Like there's a really good balance of sweet and spicy going on. There's almost like a mocha note there and some cherries. Definitely some cinnamon. It's reminding me a lot of what I think batch 27 smelled like. Now, just to tell you guys, for those that don't know, Barrell Company does not distill their own stuff. They source bottles and blend them, which is fine. You can make amazing blends. And this one particular is distilled in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. So more than likely it's a blend of, we can say for sure, probably Dickel, for sure MGP, and I'm not sure which Kentucky bourbon is in here. It is age stated as 6 years, so since this is a blend, the youngest, they have to put the youngest age on here, so the youngest would be 6 years. I imagine there's some older stuff in here just by nosing it. Batch 27 last year was 5 years. So same kind of blend, I think, same, it says distilled from the same places, so we'll see. Oh man, this smells so good. Some cinnamon in there, and then not like Heaven Hill nuttiness, not Jim Beam nuttiness, but I describe this as MGP nuttiness. It's almost got that like vanilla kind of pecan notes on the nose, almost like a chocolate covered cordial cherry with cinnamon on it, and then some of that like vanilla pecan that you get in MGP. Very complex nose. I really love it. I'm gonna give the nose, I mean, this is getting into that exceptional category for me. We're gonna give it a 0.8. All right, moving on to the palate. Cheers, everybody. It's really good. None of that Dickel minerality that you normally get. Oh man, they did good on this. Really interesting. It was like sweet, kind of creamy texture, and then just like shot up to all this barrel spice on the back end, which I love. Now, if you're newer to bourbon, you might not like that, but that barrel spice was really nice. It wasn't alcohol, it wasn't ethanol. It was like barrel spice, almost like jalapeno peppers on that first sip. Wow, that was a good ride on the first sip. All right, let's go second sip. This is good. Getting the fruit note I'm getting is I've said this when I've reviewed Barton before, but it's like the juice from fruit salad cans, the syrup. That's what I'm getting, that note. Really sweet, like fruit salad syrup at first, and then it's getting, caramel, cinnamon, that like jalapeno pepper spice, and it's really crazy because it's like when you eat a hot spicy chip, where that spice isn't there at first, and then as you sit, it kind of builds and builds, and that's what this is doing on the first and second sip. Really awesome. All right, going in for third sip. Oh man, that's good. Third sip starts to tame down. Not getting as much of the jalapeno spice, much of that fighting me, but I did get a beautiful kind of leather tobacco note there. Actually, the hug's kicking in now. Golly, this is really good. I'm gonna have to sit down with this, really explore this. I really like it. So I try to do 3 sips on here. Look for the sweetness, look for the spice. This has got everything you'd want in a bourbon. This has, again, I think this is at that exceptional level. It's way better than average. I'm going to give the palate on this a 0.8. It is really, really good, guys. All right, moving on to the finish. This is interesting. Sometimes when you take a sip of this, it's really confusing. Sometimes it drinks hotter than the proof, and sometimes not as hot as the proof. This would be a confusing one if you did it in a blind and you were trying to guess what proof it was. But the finish is really good. That it's that, it starts off sweet, and then you start noticing how creamy the texture is, and then it transitions into this wonderful, beautiful barrel spice, jalapeno pepper spice. Just fantastic. I'm going to give the finish a 0.8. All right, moving on to the body. The body is really good on this. It's buttery, it's creamy. I wouldn't put it in that exceptional level, that 0.8 level, but it's in that 0.7 level, and that's what we're going to give it, a 0.7. All right, moving on to the most controversial category anytime I review barrel bourbon, and that is value. I picked this up for $79. It was sitting on the shelf. That means it goes in our Bourbon of the Year running if it scores high enough. But value on this, it is $80. And when you're talking $80 and you're talking about a company that blends, sources products and blends, every batch is going to be different. You are taking a risk every time you buy it. Now, what I'm tasting right now, I would probably might pay up to $100 to. So I am perfectly fine paying $80 for this. But as $80 bourbon sourced 6 years, I'm not going to give it anything over an average rating on value. I'm happy with what I bought. I'm not mad. I don't think I stole it. So we're going to give it just an average rating of a 0.5. And that brings our overall score for Barrell Bourbon Batch 31 to a 4.1, making it bunker worthy. This has been a great start to the year, guys. We have tried a lot of really good bourbons. If you want to see past reviews, just go to whiskeytornado.com. You can click on 2022 reviewed whiskeys and see what order I have whiskeys from this year. But the important thing I want to know is, where does it stack up against Batch 27, which was my favorite? Now, Batch 27 came in a little higher proof, but younger. It was 5 years at 115 proof. Batch 31 is 6 years and 111 proof. Now, I love that 1.7 to 110 proof, so I am really interested to see how these stack up side by side. God, I love the nose on this. That's interesting. Batch 27 does have a little bit more ethanol on the nose. On my left, this is Batch 31. This is Batch 27. A little bit more nuttiness on Batch 31. I believe the MGP notes come through a little bit stronger there. They're both really, really good. All right, I'm going to try 31 first since it's lower proof. And the more I drink of Batch 31, the more the MGP is really kind of shining. So if you love MGP, I think you're going to love it. It's really good. Okay, moving on to 27. '27 has a note that pops out to me. I can't describe it. What's crazy is Batch 27's higher proof, but tastes more watered down next to Batch 31. That's really interesting. Batch 31 does taste more complex to me. I thought these would really be closer, but I'm pretty sure I like 31 a lot more than 27. So I'm going to taste 27 again. If I could sit down with that for longer, I don't want to bore you guys. I think I could figure out what that note is I'm tasting. Right now, it's just not coming to me. It's a little more spiky on the tongue. Man, Batch 27 is really good. I wish I could figure out what that note was for you guys right off the top of my head. Let me taste 31 now. Oh, man. 31 is so good. That could be Bourbon of the Year running. That's good stuff. I will be interested to put this in some blinds for some people, see how they like it. I bet it's going to stack up. If you're still mad about Barrell Bourbon Company's prices, please continue to pass on this stuff. Leave it on the shelves so I can get it. Batch 31 is a winner and bunker worthy. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, cheers, everybody.
Ooh.